My podcast deserves vengeance.
Hello, friends, and welcome to Beyond the Silver Screen. We're all very excited about the new movie Tenet by director Christopher Nolan.
I think it's pronounced Tenet.
Sorry?
Tenet.
Tenet, really?
No, it's Tenet.
No,
As in a tenant that somebody follows?
No, I think it is Tenet.
I thought it was Tenet. Pretty sure.
No, I'm pretty sure it's a fucking word, Einish.
I was kidding. It is. Never mind.
Okay, I was gonna say
Honestly,
no.
can we keep this in? Yeah.
Yes.
Do we say tenant? Like landlord tenant?
Yeah,
Oh.
Tenet.
Yes.
Yeah.
How many
okay.
people have you guys heard
Actually,
say?
that word is pronounced
say
tenant,
tenant.
with all due
Tenant.
respect.
Oh, yeah, shoot, my bad. I'm not very good at English. It's my
Yeah,
first
me
and
too.
only language.
It's my second language, and I don't even speak it.
I just forged the documents when applying to university.
Oleg
mean,
is actively Google translating everything as he speaks.
It gets the job done so far.
But yeah, we're doing a series on Christopher Nolan in anticipation and build up for Tenet.
Tenet.
Tenet, yes, for Tenet. But so
Actually, I believe it's called Tenat.
oh yeah,
Okay,
that sounds about right.
this joke has officially been taken too far.
But yeah, so
Let's continue joking.
Wait, I've got a few more. Let's see. Tonat.
Yeah, like a toe and a nut. I gotcha.
Tonut.
Tenet.
Stop. I know where this is going. Stop.
So yeah, so basically, in anticipation for Tenet, we all chose one Christopher Nolan movie that we love or just wanted to talk about. That yeah, and so we're here to talk about them. All right, so the movies that we chose were Memento, Dunkirk, Interstellar, and Inception. So yeah,
Yeah. Those were indeed the movies. All right. So, the first one is Memento, chosen by yours truly, Alex Trombley. That's your cue.
Yep. First one is Memento, chosen by yours truly, Alex Trombley. That's your cue. All right. So, my rankings. That what we're doing?
yeah, your rankings
Yeah.
and then why you chose Memento.
All right. So, top ranking is Memento. Second ranking is Inception. Third is Dunkirk. Fourth is Interstellar, of course. And so the reason I picked Memento for the showing is because I think it's Christopher Nolan at his best. It's incredibly layered. It's really nice and tight. I think Christopher Nolan does his best when he's, doing down to earth people, because like he
Down
can.
to earth.
Well,
Christopher
yeah,
Nolan
yes,
can do anyone
literally.
he wants.
Protagonist. Good
Yeah,
guy.
literally in some cases. But yeah, no. The more he tries to go into this grand sci-fi things, I think the more he fucks himself up. So, yeah, that's it.
Majestic description.
I try.
So,
And we had a discussion question for Memento, which is why we're talking about it. So,
Yeah, you wrote those discussion questions, so why
Yeah, no,
don't you,
I
why
got
don't you tell us what it is?
Yeah, I got it's all up here. It's all here. So in relation to the Memento discussion, we asked the question. So do you think this movie would work better with without the editing gimmick, without it being edited the way it is? Would it have been better?
fuck no.
Yeah. How would it have been
Fuck
different
no.
if it was told chronologically? Probably not better, but how would it have been different? So
Yeah, do you think this movie would be better if the best thing about this movie was removed?
Well, sort of do you think the movie would work if it was told chronologically, or does it only work because it's told in this way?
Okay, can I start then?
Yeah.
My response to that question is that I think it would have still been a solid story. However, the whole point of the overall product being written like this is that we get to experience it end to middle and beginning to middle at the same time. Otherwise, if we didn't experience it like that, all the twists would come at the wrong time, and I legitimately think we would still appreciate it, but it wouldn't leave as much of an impact.
Yeah, I agree with that. Where like I feel like if it was told normally, like the normal chronological way or whatever, it would just be like a very well told, well made film about like a husband out for revenge, but it wouldn't. I don't think it'd be remembered as much. Like there's a lot of movies out there of this kind of genre, so yeah.
Yeah, rape and revenge is literally its own subgenre. It's normally horror focused, but it did get its roots from a Bergman movie called Virgin Spring. So it does have art house roots to it, but yeah, there's a lot of movies like this, so you do have to change it up a little.
I was gonna say it's generally very New French. What is it called? New French
New
Extremity.
Yeah, New French
No.
Extremity. I hate that movement.
I like some of it. Like Irreversible.
Yeah,
Fucking
I
great.
want to talk about that one. I'm glad you've seen that.
I don't speak French.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you've seen that because I actually wanted to talk about that in relation to Memento, and I'm glad that I won't be the only one who's seen it now.
Yeah, of course. It's Gaspard Noé. How could I not watch it?
Yeah, that is pretty up your alley, isn't it? Okay.
All right. Do we want to move on to other people?
Oh, yeah, sure. I suppose I can go. Yeah, I think it works really well, told in this order, and like talking again about I'm just going to say
I meant the
Irreversible
intro
because I do have a decent French accent, but I don't want to butcher it anyways.
Irreversible.
Irreversible. But
I hear
And
it
you just
tried.
did.
It's like irreversible.
yeah.
I love it when people say I won't try to pronounce this, and then they try to pronounce this. I do
Well,
that all
not-
the time.
Nobody can really resist trying to pronounce it. Like, whenever they say, I'm not going to pronounce it, they all go, oh, but it's in the back of my mind now that I need to try.
Yeah. I mean, for the 2 months that I lived with a French family, my French accent was pretty good because it had to be so that I could, like, get the basic necessities I needed to, like, live. But ever since then, it's gone downhill. But, yeah, for this film, I feel like it was very much planned, whereas, like, I know for Irreversible, it was more of, like, an afterthought. And I think that movie does a good job with it. Mostly because of the fact that it kind of looks like one shot, which is very interesting for a film that's told in this order. But in Memento, it really adds a lot to putting you in the character's headspace. And it also, I think, adds a lot in terms of keeping you guessing. One of my problems with the film is that for the first 2 acts, it kind of lays out everything you need to know in the first, 30 minutes, but there's a lot of specifics about how things got to where they are that you don't really know, and so it's able to keep you guessing enough towards the 3rd act. So, I mean, it's a little long. I think it could be shorter, but it definitely, chops up the editing structure enough so it doesn't feel repetitive and all those sorts of things, but yeah, I think it does it really well. I don't think it would be as interesting if you just told it straightforward either.
I think the structure of the film is that such every time we see a new piece of information, every time we see a new scene, it recontextualizes everything we have already seen that actually happened after that moment in time that we just witnessed. And it's very interesting how pretty much every other time we scroll back and get an additional piece of the story, it completely flips everything we already do know that happened later on its head.
My my favorite reveal, I think, is at the very end. You're wondering the whole time. At least I was wondering. It says Teddy, don't believe his lies.
We
And
should
I'm
also say. Wait, I was going to say we should also say spoiler alert.
I feel like at this point they would know. But...
I mean, we always spoil movies when we talk about them. I think
Hey, just in case.
Fair enough.
Just
fair
in
enough.
case.
But spoiler alert: Teddy dies in the first 2 minutes. But
no, the movie literally opens
On
on
the
Teddy's
shot.
Going
dead
to
body.
spoil the end/beginning of the movie.
but
The end of the story, the beginning of the
Yeah,
movie.
don't spoil the ending, Einish. Jeez. First scene.
But yeah, so the reveal that I love is like throughout the time, like throughout the story, he Teddy keeps giving him information, but then on the card it keeps saying like don't believe his lies, and I'm like, why is that written there? Like Teddy seems to be giving like good advice and like that sort of thing. It says don't believe his lies, don't believe his lies. And at the very end you see like he wrote that there to like set up this mystery for himself. Don't believe his lies. I just really love that. I think that was really sweet.
Yeah, I think it's interesting you bring that up too, because that was also, of everything in the movie, that was the one thing that most interested me. Again, like I said, in the first half hour, I feel like I figured out most everything except for that. And so, like, I don't know. That's just the sign of a genius there, that like
Yeah.
he's able to like make you think you know everything except like this one thing, and then it gets to that point and by the time you reach the third act and figure out that one thing, it also reveals a bunch of other things that you thought you knew but didn't actually know.
Yeah.
So it's just a really engaging structure.
Andrew, is this the first time you've seen Memento?
Yeah, it is actually.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, I watched it
Yeah.
yesterday or 2 days ago.
Days ago.
By the way,
Yeah.
have either of you guys seen his first film, The Following?
I
No, I
have
haven't.
it on my watch list. I'm planning to watch all this stuff before.
It's
Tenet.
really good.
Yeah, that's another like noir type movie too, isn't it?
Yep. It's about a guy who just stalks people for fun.
Oh, right.
And
up my
just
alley.
like and starts gaslighting them and stuff. So like just slightly moving stuff around the house just to fuck with them.
Also
it's
sounds
great.
like it's
I
up
love
your
it.
alley, Alex.
Yes, but more as just a time passer activity, not as a movie.
I don't get paid. It's just out of self-interest.
Yeah.
It's for the art. Doing this for the fans.
I did it all for the nookie.
Oh my god. And another scene that I actually wanted to bring up was I forgot her name, Natalie, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when Natalie comes back home and like her face is like bruised and her lip is bleeding and she's like, "It's him, Dodd. He beat the shit out of me." And like she's like explaining this whole thing. She's hysterical and I'm like, "Oh man, who's this Dodd guy?" And you see the scene right before that where he actually is the one who punched her, and like she like straight up just tells him like, "I'm going to use you," and that whole thing like it completely redefines this scene before that you just saw. And I also love that they had like a little bit of foreshadowing where he like looks at her face that's bruised and then you see him like kind of like stretch his hand out because he's like, "Wow, my knuckles feel sore," and you're like, "Wait, what happened?" And then they show it, and the way that it sort of like throws you for a loop. I love that scene.
Yeah, I was going to point that out too, is that there are, like, watch it through a second time. Because now that you actually know this story, like, there are so many things along the line that just point to little details. And you just, you just, you see that stuff and you just go, holy shit. There's like not a single detail missed in Memento.
Yeah,
It's
I will
definitely
say-
a very tight story. It's very concise in
Yeah.
the way it's told. I
Li-
think
there's
literally
a lot
there-
of little moments that I really
Yeah,
like.
there-
Just even from like filmmaking stuff, like the way that they move Natalie into a low angle and they move him into a high angle shot, so it switches the power dynamic as the scene goes on. Or like Sammy sitting in the what is it, in the hospital at the end.
and then
psych
does a
ward.
quick
In the psych
switch.
ward, and then he passes him, and Sammy becomes
Leonard.
yeah. I love
Leonard. Yeah.
yeah. Just there were a lot of like short little moments that clearly shows that he put a lot of thought into it, and I think a lot of thought that like most people wouldn't even begin to consider having to put all that thought into it. So it just shows how good he is.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's to the level where at one point we were watching it with Daniel.
Oh, was it Daniel's first time watching it too?
Yep.
Yeah, and while we were watching it, Daniel went, "Why is his car so dirty?" And Oleg was like, "That's a pretty minor detail. Who fucking cares?" But then even that comes fucking tied in.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, and I'm like, that's how brilliant this fucking movie is that there's literally every single aspect of the movie is tied into itself. That's what makes it such a perfect, tight movie, is that there is not a single thread that leads off to nowhere. There's not a single thread that is like, well, where does this come from? Like that doesn't make sense. Everything is self-motivated within the story, and it's truly just masterful writing.
Yeah, I will say I don't think that every movie needs to be written like that. However, this movie knows exactly what it needs to be. It does it absolutely perfectly. It's a great film by all accounts, for sure. I think for me, the thing that kind of stayed with me the most is just how much, I know I already said this, but just like how much they can change your perspective with like tiniest bits of information just for the way they tell the story. Like, for example, the scene where he's like burning his wife's possessions, and then the scene before that, you see him like
hiring a hooker to
hiring her to do like to place those things in the apartment, and then like go hide in the toilet to wait for him to wake up and forget it. Like it's just beautiful. Like it's
I love how much he tricks himself in the movie.
He like that was him purposefully making himself think falsely.
Yeah exactly. It's literally everything in this movie, like the character. I'm finding it hard to find the right words to describe it, but like it's brilliant how much Nolan is able to get into the mind space of like this character, and is able to, like, he's so complex and deep, and I don't think we see that with really any of the rest of Nolan's characters, at least not in the characters that we're talking about for the next couple of episodes. But I mean, maybe Inception.
I think Dom is a solid character.
Dom's a very solid character.
He is, but I don't think he gets quite to the level of depth that Leonard has. Like, how many layers of self-deceit, and that's really what the story is about. Memento is about deceit and the fallibility of memory, in that you are constantly lying to yourself, you're lying to everyone around you, everybody's lying to themselves and everyone around them. They all want to believe that they're doing right, and they all are tricking themselves into believing that they're doing the right thing. Maybe Natalie is an exception.
Natalie is content with what she's doing.
I don't know if
Natalie has given up on that.
I don't know if I agree with you thinking, like, you said, like, Leonard's deep and complex. I think he's a very complicated character, which obviously, but I think, like, his goals in mind and all of that are quite simplistic. Like, he wants revenge, and once he gets revenge, but he also kind of, like, he has
the
one
plot
line
twist
in the
at
movie.
the end. The plot twist at the end implies that, like, when he was faced with that choice, when he was told that the person he was trying to kill has been dead for a long time, killed by Leonard a long time ago, just forgotten, he doesn't, like, quit. He just gives himself a new, like, he purposefully deceits himself so that he would kill an innocent, well, for the sake of this particular crime, an innocent man, just to relive basically that satisfaction once again and take the picture and then put it behind them, presumably.
I think what works about Leonard, though, is that I think he's a very complex, kind of simplistic character in a way, where, like,
I don't think he's simplistic at all.
I think it's quite, like, it's a very simple mindset that he has, where, like, he has this mystery, and he knows, like, once this mystery is solved, like, he has that one line where he says, "My ability to live has been destroyed," which is pretty honest. Like, he can't really live a normal life anymore. So to, like, give himself a purpose, he just basically keeps creating new mysteries and is, like, chasing after this goal that he'll never be able to catch, in a way, which I think is a very, like, it's a very complex and interesting goal, but it is also kind of simple, which makes it so relatable. I'm not saying it's bad. Like, I think that's one of its strengths.
I might be wrong, because they don't really clarify that that's the case, but when I watched the movie, had the feeling that this, like, final revenge killing that we see in the very beginning of the film is actually the final one, because it was Teddy who was actually guiding him to kill new and, like, more and more people in his quest for vengeance. But this time, like, he kills Teddy, and he actually takes a picture and he keeps it. So presumably he did that to himself just so that he could have, like, a satisfying revenge, a complete revenge, and not one that would just be pointless and forgotten.
No, I don't think that's true. I don't think that Teddy is the last one.
Yeah, I don't think he's the last one either.
Yeah. I think also part of it is that Leonard is the Camusian hero. He is confronted.
We're dragging Camus into this.
Yes, of course we're dragging Camus into this.
My dude.
Yeah. Whenever I can drag Camus into a conversation, I do. But Camus, it's the absurdism. He has realized that all he longs for is that meaning of the hunt of the person who raped and killed his wife, of John G. or Jimmy G, whenever it needs to be. And he has come to face the fact that the world is unwilling to give him the satisfaction of that. That no matter how many times he does it, he can't feel the lingering satisfaction. And so the only satisfaction he can feel is in pursuit of that satisfaction. And so he continually creates these mysteries for himself to erase it. So, the part of the reason that I don't think that Teddy is the last one is because Leonard had a point where he could have stopped much earlier, and that is he had the picture of the actual John G, right?
And
or he had a picture of him after.
Also.
Yeah. The one of him smiling after, and he burnt both of them. When he was confronted with that, he burnt both of them, and he decided, I'm going to deny myself the realization that I succeeded, because at that point his life loses meaning. And so I'll have to look up the script for the last bit, but I believe he actually says, now I'm just on an endless cycle of this.
Well, yeah, I
Right?
think, I'm not... Obviously, this is a movie that doesn't want to clearly explain every aspect of its story to the audience, and that's absolutely a good thing.
You didn't
That's
stay
a
after
good
the
thing.
credits. They actually teased a sequel, and
Yeah, it was Bollywood.
the
wasn't it?
Memento
Yeah,
cinematic
exactly.
universe. He was drafted into the X-Men. Yeah, I remember. But there is, at the very beginning of the film,
X-Men.
the reason I still do think
so
that this is
sorry.
the last one. He takes a picture of dead Teddy, dead John G, the cop. And why would he ever do that if his purpose was to deceive himself and continue this revenge spree for the sake of satisfaction? Why would he keep a memento of the last deed he did? That just doesn't add up, especially if he is at this point deceiving himself on purpose.
I think there is a part of him that, so this is why I think he's a very complex character, is I think there's a part of him that's obsessed with the recording of things, right? So because he has this thing where everything slips away from him, he's really obsessed with always recording things and having something to go back to. And so he wants to record the actions, and yet he also does it in a way that allows him to deny things, and he will sometimes erase that evidence if he feels that he really absolutely needs to.
Do we see what he does with the photo of Teddy, the dead body
No.
of
We
Teddy?
do not.
No, that's the
we
last.
see
That's
him
the
holding
last
it,
thing
that's it.
that happens in the story is him shaking the picture, which is also the opening credits for the film.
Yeah.
Because I feel like if it sort of ended it ends with him waving the photo, that sort of thing. He could be setting himself up, the way I interpret it is he sets himself up for another mystery to solve.
But
Also,
How is that
I have
a mystery?
I pulled up the script here, and so I have the final voiceover, and I just want to read this out because it's so fucking good.
I
Right, so
truly, deeply love you.
Here we are.
you're blinded by love, or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Here we are. I have to believe in the world outside my own mind. I have to believe that my actions still have meaning, even if I can't remember them. I have to believe that when my eyes are closed, the world's still there. But do I? Do I believe the world's still there? Is it still out there? Yes. We all need mirrors to remind ourselves who we are. I'm no different. Now, where was I? That oh god, it's so fucking good, man. I love this fucking movie so much.
Whoa, Alex, calm down
Holy
there.
shit.
That's fair. I was on this last week, so.
Yeah, I've got to read. Apparently, they attached the short story that's based on to the end of the screenplay.
Yeah, written by by Christopher Nolan's brother.
Yeah. So I'm
What's
gonna need to read that after we're done recording.
That's kind of cool. It's nice to see him working with his brother.
Yeah, well, he does that on a lot of movies. He did it, I believe, following he wrote with his brother.
I think they started out as sort of a together career, and then they kind of drifted apart.
Well, they wrote Interstellar together. Ugh.
Yeah, I can pull him up.
Yeah. Pull up Jonathan Nolan.
Skibbity whoop pop. Pop. Okay, and then pretty sure they did the Dark Knight and Dark Knight Rises together as well.
Yeah, I think that too.
Well, it worked
Yeah,
out
okay.
one of those times.
Yeah, I did
Oh.
Dark Knight Rises,
no.
Interstellar, Memento, and The Prestige.
Honestly,
Prestige
Dark
is
Knight
That's
Rises
what I've
is
heard, too.
acceptable.
Everyone says The
He also-
Prestige is great.
He also did Terminator Salvation.
That was also
Well-
that was pretty bad.
Oh,
Well-
no, that's awful.
You know, not everything we do is a win.
Wait, he's
Sometimes
a
it's
writer
a
on the
horrible
upcoming
loss.
Fallout TV show? Oh, that's great. They're making a or a TV show based on the Fallout games, and he's a writer on it.
I could not care less, honestly.
Yeah.
If you ask me what game I want to film on, Fallout would definitely not be among the top choices. I can
Well,
guarantee
specifically, it
Fallout
has
is
to be
probably
Fallout
at the bottom
4,
of my
which is the
list.
best.
that. Sorry, what?
Yeah, Fallout 4 is the best Fallout, easily. Just so,
Yeah.
so good.
Yeah, of course.
It's not a bad game. It's
It is.
I don't
I
think
mean-
it's a
Bad
bad game.
It's
It
if
is
you
a bad
consider
game.
Fallout a bad game, then essentially the Elder Scrolls is a bad game too. Which it's fine
Correct.
not to like it, but like a lot of people do, and there's a lot of stuff in those games for you for the player to enjoy. But the issue is the stuff that is good about those game series is not the stuff that translates well to film.
Yep, that is true.
Yeah. And if you want a
personally-
bad Fallout game, Fallout 76 is always there. So
Personally, the one I'm looking forward to is the Last of Us TV show.
yeah,
Is
I
it
don't know why
guaranteed
they-
yet?
I don't know why they're making that.
I mean, the game is already practically a TV show. What are you
Cha-ching.
gonna?
Okay, actually, I see why.
Yeah, I mean, no, that's a reasonable explanation as to why, but from a creative point of view, The Last of Us 1 and 2 games are already pretty much movies, where you just sometimes control your character. Like, no new creative ground can be covered by translating these games into film
Mate,
so soon.
It's being done by fucking HBO. This is gonna be so fucking good.
Yes, it's going to be done by HBO, so Joel
and
will probably
Ben
sleep
Benioff
with Ellie.
and,
No.
yeah,
But
Benioff.
they have the original writers.
D&D are writing the entire script. Yeah, if I had a nickel for every time I've said, I understand that they're making this for money, but from a creative standpoint, ... I would have so much money.
Yeah.
Not as much
I
as the
think
people
it's-
making it.
I think
Absolutely.
too, it might not actually be like a straight up like sorry. I think it's not actually going to be direct from the actual game. I think it's going to be just set in the world of the game.
I mean, fair. I feel like that's too much of a detour anyway for us to
But-
talk about right now.
Yeah, anyway.
You guys want to jump back onto? I think we might be done with Memento.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of what I predicted because Memento is just a movie we all love, so we're all just gonna
Yeah.
praise it for a little bit and then move on.
Fair enough. yeah.
Question, Andrew, are there any faults you find with this film?
With Memento?
Yeah.
Major things, not really. No, there's a handful of minor things that I think could be tightened up. Like, I do think it is a bit too long. I do think that once the editing starts to get really quick between the two timelines, which I understand why it does, but it does so quite a bit. I think the Natalie subplot, for example, goes on a bit longer than it has to. I think we get the point pretty quickly.
But, like,
Again,
it's
that's
so cool
that's
how they
again, this is a
okay, I'm
minor
sorry.
thing.
I'm just attacking you over nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, Oleg I mean, not like Einish didn't get that until like literally the scene where it shows, uh, where it shows.
Well, no,
like,
no, I said from the beginning. Where like this is the second time I've seen it, but I saw it the first time with my brother, and when Natalie shows up, I'm like, she's bad news.
Yeah,
You get the feeling that she's bad, but like,
well, I mean,
she
yeah,
comes
it is
back
the
with
classic noir femme fatale.
But then she comes back with like the bruised up face. I'm like, oh, maybe this Dodd dude actually did beat her up. Like I would have no reason to think that he beat her up, and then she like walked back in the room and that whole thing.
Yeah, that scene's really good.
I thought like she actually just like off to the side got beat up by her boyfriend or something. Yeah. But then the reveal that he did it, for me, I was.
I
like,
actually
oh,
was suspecting that he did it, but I wasn't sure. But I still very much enjoyed it. Okay, that's gonna sound fucked up. I still very much enjoyed it when it was revealed that he was the one who did it.
Yeah, there are different
I
definitions.
very much
of
enjoyed
when
watching
it
him
comes to
beat
film
the
noir,
shit out of her. Oh, sorry, what'd you say, Andrew?
I said there are very different definitions of enjoyment when it comes to film noir. So like it's fine. Like I'm okay.
Well, no, I didn't
okay with
enjoy
it.
seeing a person getting fucking beat up. I enjoyed the fact how cleverly like the scene was constructed. That's what I meant.
Oh,
who
should
chose
I
it? think it was
should I
Andrew?
finish the stuff I was saying about possible problems I have with Memento? Or...
Yeah.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Okay, just so we can have it up. So I just mentioned the other thing about a lot of the cards are laid down for this. Most of the cards for the second act are laid down, basically by the end of the first act, about 30 minutes in. But again, the specifics are there, so not huge. And then the other thing is, I really don't like his narration. I don't think it's written well enough. I don't think it's very well delivered. And a lot of it just seems, and I get that it's more for like his headspace, but it seems pretty repetitive, pretty uninteresting, pretty explanatory when it doesn't have to be. That's my big. It definitely feels like it's doing a film noir narration, but doesn't have a noir narration to work off of. So it's kind of just a narration without much substance to it.
I kind of see what you mean, but I think the black and white segments aren't as interesting as the color segments because it's
I mean that's for sure, yeah.
But
it's just the way the story is set up.
Yeah,
really. Because the thing is, another thing I think about this is that the black and white segments you are actually experiencing them as a normal story, so there is no intrigue to it. You watch a slice of like movie. Then you wait some time and you watch another slice of movie and you get like half a movie by the end of it. Whereas with the actual highlight of the film, the part of the story that goes from end to the middle, that's where they continuously recontextualize and where they have all the twists except for maybe that one like phone twist where he tattoos the drug dealer onto his body. But I just think it was there. It's much shorter. Every chunk from the black and white storytelling is much shorter and is just there to give the introduction to the story. That's all it is.
I think it also that is its own kind of short horror film, I think. Like I love that this setup where like you keep coming back to this and he's talking on the phone. And, like, the person on the phone convinces him to...
Well, that's what I referred to when I said the drug dealer thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, to tattoo drug dealer, like, that he's a drug dealer on his body. And then, like, just a couple of minutes later, he peels up the thing, the fresh tattoo, and says, "Don't answer the phone." And it's like, oh, fuck. And he doesn't have time. He can't undo... tattooing he's a drug dealer on his body.
I guess he could have left a note to himself, even though tattoos are usually like over notes in his hierarchy. He could have been like, this particular note is like, I don't know, star it, exclamation pointed. But yeah, I'm nitpicking.
Yeah, I have no major flaws with this movie.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think that's the thing is I don't really see too many major flaws with this movie except for the three things I listed. And most, like, everything else is just... And even those things are pretty minor. This is just a really well-made film. It's really well done. There's not too much to dislike about it.
Okay, Andrew, why did you choose this movie?
Hello, so it should be very little surprise that I am the person who chose Dunkirk. The reason I chose this movie is because... For me, the most important aspect of film isn't so much the story or the characters as it is more the technical aspects. That's not a universal law that I hold everyone to. That's just how I personally like to view movies and critique film, because it's more straightforward than story and character, which are more subjective to emotional response. And so I think that of all these movies, I do think Dunkirk is the most technically flawless of them. I also think that I think it's a movie that got somewhat overlooked to a certain extent, at least within the filmography of Nolan, because it is, at the same time, it's one of his more accessible and least accessible works, and so it kind of leaves it in this weird middle ground. I think it's a lot more ambitious than it's given credit for, not so much in its storytelling, which I'll admit is kind of lacking, but just in the way that it helms itself and the way that it presents itself as an experience. It presents itself as an experience of cinema, not so much character-driven or narrative-driven, but driven just by the idea of trying to put you in the shoes of these people. And in a day and age where a lot of cinema, and specifically television, is pushing more and more towards storytelling being specifically character-focused and sometimes maybe story-based more than character action-based, Dunkirk stands pretty much alone, along with, say, maybe Mad Max Fury Road, as an example of cinema doesn't have to be just storytelling. It can be more experiential in the vein of something like 2001: A Space Odyssey was. And so that's why I wanted to talk about it.
And your ranking.
Oh, my ranking. Yeah, so I would say probably Dunkirk first. I have a real hard time between Inception and Memento because I just saw Memento recently. But that's a hot tie for second place at the moment. And then Interstellar is a good margin behind these three. I still think I like Interstellar more than the other people on this podcast, but it just doesn't rack up. These are three phenomenal films.
You probably do. You probably do.
If you don't absolutely loathe it, you like it more than me.
I think it's okay.
Yeah, I actually think Interstellar is
you're a dumbass.
Pretty good, but not great, but pretty good. So yeah, I am willing to take any fire you will throw at Dunkirk, and I will do my best to defend it.
Can I?
2 words, aspect ratio.
Yeah, aspect
okay,
ratio
that I
was
will
a big
defend,
issue.
but we can get to that.
Okay, I'm gonna go into my intro statement, and I will say that I'm not the biggest fan of special effects for the sake of special effects. I did not really like 2001: A Space Odyssey, as I will say in an upcoming podcast of ours, that we didn't happen to have already recorded, by the way.
It's totally not.
Yeah, I think that this movie is, as Andrew has already admitted, very lacking in storytelling. But not only is it simplistic, it's a lot of what happens in it is practically pointless, and very often the effects just exist in the movie for the sake of showing off. They don't contribute to any overarching narrative, message, idea, even emotion, really. It's there to awe you in the theater, and that's about it, which I guess it succeeds at, because when I saw that movie in the theater back in, like, what was it, 2016, 2017,
yeah,
thought it was okay. Then we rewatched, Alex and I, we rewatched all the movies before that were chosen before this podcast.
You rewatched Interstellar?
Yes, we did. It was rough, but we did.
Oh my god.
And
I
will
had
have
to
say,
drink through it.
I will have to say that Dunkirk,
A lot.
without the theater experience, was one of the most boring fucking movie experiences that I've ever had in my life. Maybe not as boring as 2001, I will say that much, but yeah, not a fan.
I guess I might hop in after all, like, just because it'll be a different sort of feeling for the movie. But personally, I love Dunkirk, but I don't think it's perfect. I think what holds it back from, like, me loving as much as Andrew does or whatever is, like, I think if you can't see, but I started waving my hands up in the air, going as much as Andrew loves it, but no,
really mocking, I will say.
But I think, yeah, I love this movie for its technical aspects. I think it does a really good job at sort of, like, making you feel, this is going to sound like an IGN review, but making you feel like you're at Dunkirk, sort of a thing, where like the way it's filmed, the way like the sound editing and just everything is like it's basically perfect. Like technically, I think it does a very good job at like immersing you into the environment, into the warfare, and I was kind of surprised that it was a PG-13 movie because it's quite violent, very very haunting in that sort of way where you're like, oh wow, this was a brutal time. And I personally didn't really find an issue with the aspect ratios, like they change, but I thought that like they shift to a different one whenever they go to like into the sky for like
Okay,
plane
can I
combat.
ask a question here?
Yeah.
I legitimately do not know because whether or not they cut the aspect ratios to what I don't know, to a proper format for theater releases, but I do not remember seeing that in the theater. Maybe I was just young and stupid. It was like 3 years ago.
Yeah.
I guess I
It
could.
was a simpler time.
I think
Yeah,
they
I guess
did.
there is a possibility I didn't notice it, but holy shit, it was rough watching it in my living room, like on a home screen. Wow.
I think they did because I know like for sure like Transformers whenever they play that movie has 3 aspect ratios that it switches to between like 3 different shots, and it's cancerous.
And is that way on the home DVD.
And it's also that way on the home DVD. I saw Dunkirk twice. Both times I saw it wasn't an IMAX theater, and so like it would have been. I'm pretty sure they did the switch. It's a bit harder to. The movie was made to be distributed in IMAX. It was made specifically with the intent of being an IMAX focused release. And so it worked just fine in that format because like even when a IMAX screen adds an extra 40% to itself, it's so friggin' big that like you don't even really realize when it switches over. You just kind of like let it wash over you. But I think in the theater it did keep the changing aspect ratios because that's in line with other Nolan works. Like people complained a lot about Dark Knight and Dark Knight Rises having that issue too. So yeah, I think it was.
Did they though? I don't remember that issue because in Dunkirk
don't
it's so
remember that
blatant. It's impossible not to notice.
Yeah, it really was. The moment we noticed it, we were just... I think it almost became a drinking game. Every time they switched the aspect ratio, drink.
It was absolutely
Yeah.
horrible. And the thing is, like, it's not even
It
just
was
for
brutal.
scenes that are, like, technically stunning. Sometimes, like, in the middle of a conversation, they will just do, like, an anime-style close-up where they just change the aspect ratio on one character's face and don't do that for the other character's face. And I'm like, Nolan, why?
Oh, like, it's even worse than that. It wasn't just sometimes it was not the, like, big explosive moments. It was almost never the big explosive moments. Those ones were always shot in normal things because they couldn't get a camera close to the sinking boat because the IMAX cameras are too expensive.
Oh no, they actually
No,
sunk an
it
IMAX camera making this movie.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they probably
exactly.
were very unhappy about that. Those things are expensive.
But they instead it's always a bunch of close-ups of some people like sitting around talking like, so how are we gonna get off this rock? How are we gonna get off this beach?
Yeah, as much as I appreciate the humor of just, like, the anime close-up, as I said, of just, like, not even on both sides of the conversation, but just somebody's, like, face closing up on it, like, it didn't have to be there. It really didn't.
It's,
Well,
it
I mean,
really
the reason it was
awful.
there was for technical limitations too.
Then
and
fucking resize it in the release.
I mean,
Good lord.
with all
How many
due
movies have done
respect,
this?
you don't, like, you could just film all conversations in the normal aspect ratio. The IMAX aspect ratio does not need to be present when two characters are talking.
Yeah, I mean, I do agree with that. I think the resizing could have made sense, especially for like the conversations and stuff like that. But like
mean,
for
but even-
like the bigger moments, it would have been like really. It would have been kind of frustrating to go from an 18K image down to like a 2 or 4K image and then back up again would be really like that would be really cumbersome in some of the bigger scenes. But yeah, in the,
I mean,
in the
but it's
conversations, I
not-
agree with you.
Are you saying it's not cumbersome in the scenes where it's, you know, you're in the middle of like a ship battle and it's like, you know, they're dropping bombs and stuff and then all of a sudden it cuts and now there's black bars and then all of a sudden, nope, there's not black bars anymore. It's just like,
Yeah, it was
Like,
disorienting.
I
don't think
like
I've ever
that. I like
experienced that.
changes in aspect ratio when it's fucking intentional.
Quentin
Like that-
Tarantino.
Yeah, exactly. Like we talked a little bit about this in our
movie
group chat.
actually. Penguins of Madagascar. They had a really good shift
Yeah.
to the.
Yeah, no,
I'm
but-
not even kidding. They actually had a shift to IMAX in that.
Yeah, I was gonna say Wes Anderson does
But I
it.
mean,
All
like,
of the Marvel
they're-
movies and Star Wars movies do it too. Like Marvel and Star
Yeah, but
Wars
they
movies, they
don't
normally
put
shoot
black
like one or
bars.
two scenes, and then they're like, "Oh, and now we're going back." Well, if
Yeah,
you see
I
it,
will-
if
from
you
the
see it in
perspective of
IMAX,
a
they do
normie.
it, but they change it for regular release. But if they shoot
Yeah.
it in IMAX, they keep
Why
it.
didn't Dunkirk just change it?
Well, because that's more of a.
because
it's sort of like
purist.
it. Yeah, I mean that is the argument. Like, there's actually a decent number of people on like Reddit and other forums who are really mad that Marvel doesn't release the changing IMAX aspect ratios on their Blu-ray discs. Because that is how it was originally shot, and that is how the artist originally created it. So it's more of a keeping the intent sort of thing.
I would much rather keep the intent hidden, if that made for better film.
If his intent is to fucking randomly shift around between aspect ratios, keep your intent. I'm good.
Yeah, I mean, in my opinion, if the intent just makes for a worse film by a considerable margin, I'm okay. I don't really need it.
It's very seldom that you'll hear me vote for death of the author, but this is one case where I'm like, yeah, death of the author.
Yeah. I guess the one reason I give Christopher Nolan more of a pass than other people is because his entire filmography has been him trying to get a film shot entirely in IMAX 65 millimeter. And like, it just, well, actually it did happen because Tenet was finally the movie where they finally said, here you go, you can shoot the whole film in IMAX 65 millimeter. So that movie should be the first film ever shot.
At least it
fully
won't
in
be
that
switching.
thing.
Yeah, but
but
what
like-
does that have to do with aspect ratio?
Well, because the regular because 35 millimeter film doesn't have the IMAX aspect ratio. This IMAX 65 millimeter aspect ratio is very specific.
It's like an
Right,
in
but
between 16:9 and the letterbox sort of thing.
Yeah,
really
it's-
weird.
But you understand what I'm saying though, is that like you're saying like his goal all along was to achieve, a fully IMAX movie, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he's been getting slightly
So-
better. Each of his releases have had
Right.
slightly more IMAX footage.
and you can still pursue IMAX, but you can also do that while hiding the fucking aspect ratio change. I don't care if you had to clip off shit from the the regular camera, or if you had to clip off shit from the IMAX version. Either way, just clip off something so that it looks right, so that I don't have to keep resetting my brain every cut. Is this going to be IMAX? Okay, I guess we're having borders now. Like you can pursue that 100% IMAX marker, but the audience should be not aware of that. They shouldn't be able to tell, like, oh, this was shot on a better camera than this other cut that was 5 seconds earlier. Because that's how the more the audience is aware of a cut, and the more the audience is aware of, like, oh, they're doing this thing, the less, like, technically, like, sound it is, right?
Not only the less technically sound, but also the more it takes you out of the movie and the experience overall.
Exactly.
Because it
Yeah,
makes you
you're
aware
saying-
to the fact that it's
Yeah.
a film.
It's an experiential movie, like you were saying. Like, there's really very little in the way of narrative going on. Nothing that would really capture your interest.
It
And
frankly
so if
really
you-
is really fucking boring.
Yeah, and so if you get taken out of the experience, of it, like in the theaters, you can get swept away from with it. Like, and I did. I loved the movie in theaters, but watching it on a home, like a TV, oh my god, I wanted to blow my fucking brains out because that movie was so fucking boring.
Yeah.
Ugh.
I think it is fair to note there, though, that both you and Oleg said you got swept away with it in theaters, which means that the
Okay,
aspect ratio for you was...
I didn't say that. I didn't say
Okay.
that. I said that I thought it was okay at theaters.
Okay, but did you notice the
like-
changing aspect ratio in theaters? Because it was there.
Admittedly, I did not.
So if you
I don't
didn't
think I
notice...
did.
So a movie is made to be shown in a theater, right?
Actually, no, not necessarily.
Well,
Yeah,
where it's
not
released
after you
first,
package it on a DVD.
Yeah,
Well-
I think the movie is made to be shown. That's where it that's where you put the full stop.
No, I think a movie is made for the theater experience, unless it's released directly
Okay,
to streaming.
I
that's
don't
something.
think so
So
because
that's just saying
a
that
movie is shot
the movie
for...
is made for the first like at most 3 months of its like existence, and then it's like you can't experience it
Well,
in the
Well,
way it was
here-
intended to be experienced.
Yeah, but
unless there's,
let me
a
explain
special
where I'm coming
thing.
from on this, because like you want the big problem that everyone had with the battle scenes towards the end of Game of Thrones was that you couldn't see it, and the reason was because television needs
How
to be
about the narrative
something
layers?
that's shot for. Well, also the last season of Game of Thrones is horrible.
Yeah,
in like
it's-
almost
I was
every
gonna say,
regard. It
that's
doesn't
my
have,
problem with it.
but like specifically like the lighting in those scenes, the reason it's a
Particularly
problem is
the
because if
battle
you're
against the
watching
White
something
Walkers, yeah.
on television, something that's made for television, it needs to be brighter. It needs to be focused on the front two speakers specifically. Whereas if you're making a movie which is primarily meant to be shown in a dark space with surround sound, you shoot it darker so it doesn't look the same as when you play it on a television set. You shoot and you create it with the idea that the sound is supposed to be more immersive than what television speakers can offer you. So it's not really fair to judge a movie. You should really, if you can, judge a film based on how it is in the theater. And if you both think it's better in a theater, which is how it's originally meant to be shown, then how is that an issue?
It's kind of like
I
there's a
think
similar thing
there
with the
is-
Oscars where they send out like DVD screeners, and then the people in the Academy, when they're like judging how good a movie is, they judge it based on the DVD screener on their home TVs instead of watching it in theaters in like many cases, which I think is like would you agree that like seeing The Lighthouse is much better in theaters than like at home?
Okay, I
Or
don't
seeing,
think
like-
it's the same point. I really don't think it's the same point
Wait,
that
no, no.
you and Andrew are making. And I 100% agree that for people who are actually rating movies,
I'm
they
just
need
saying
to
kind
be
of
watching
like-
them on a big screen. Absolutely. I'm 100% with you on this.
It's a little different where like I guess it's not. I think it is kind of the same argument where it's kind of like there is a difference between like watching something at home versus like on the theater. And then I was just bringing up another example
Well,
like in the Academy.
I mean, no, I think it's a fair argument to bring up. Even like I see where Andrew is coming from with this too. I 100% agree with you, but my perspective on movies like theater experience versus home experience in general is that it is okay to aim your movie either at a TV experience or a home experience or a movie theater experience. The issue is that it doesn't mean that you have to be so short-sighted as to make your movie completely unwatchable in other like settings when your movie will be watched in other settings. And frankly, movie theaters are very short-term ways to experience most movies unless they become cult classics.
Well, in
So
the,
it's just
the
like
other,
it's just
I agree with that.
short-sighted.
I definitely agree, and I also
That does
think
make
that like
sense.
the argument I will say like I stand by it, but I will say that it is definitely more applicable to movies like say like 2001: A Space Odyssey or Ben-Hur or Lawrence of Arabia, which were movies made at a time when they knew that like they would be shown in theaters and then probably would not be shown anywhere else, bar maybe television, but studios were very picky about giving away the rights. So like back then it made more sense because movies were meant to be shown in theaters and only theaters, whereas now we know it's going to end up somewhere else.
I was gonna say the other thing too is that you lose that defense of like the way it's supposed to be seen is in theater once it goes to home release, right?
Unless you got like
So-
a really nice home theater or something, but yeah.
Yeah, well, no, but if you're putting it out on Blu-ray and or DVD, you cannot say I'm expecting them to watch this in a movie theater, right?
But
I mean,
that
a
doesn't
lot of
mean you
movies
can't
actually
create it to
adapt
be
when-
watched in a
adapt the
theater.
Yeah.
footage to be better on Blu-ray, for example. That is done
Exactly.
to some films, and I think that's okay.
Yeah, exactly. When you're packaging it for a home release, you have to adapt it so that it's fucking watchable, right? If
I found it pretty watchable.
I just watched it at home. I did not have time to rewatch it before this, but
And it was pretty good. I
have
enjoyed
you
it.
seen it on a home theater?
Yeah, we bought a
Andrew?
new TV, so I just watched
No,
it.
no.
Like,
But Andrew, have you seen it on just a TV?
no, I haven't seen it in home release.
Okay.
I will
Okay.
admit that.
Okay, before we record the next episode, I need you to watch it on just a regular TV and then come back to me and tell me that it's not horrid.
Okay, yeah, we can cover that in the next podcast. But yeah, I mean, I'm used to changing aspect ratios because I try and see things in IMAX when I can. So I've seen a ton of. So like for me, I've seen a ton of movies where I've seen the aspect ratio change, and it doesn't bother me as much as it probably does other people. So maybe we'll just have to agree to disagree.
I am normally not bothered by this because this is the only movie where that was such an issue for me.
Yeah.
I think it's not only the fact of changing aspect.
The last night.
I was gonna say Transformers movies are.
I don't
want
to watch it. Actually, the issue there is I already know that I'm not gonna enjoy that movie, so it's not like the aspect ratios are gonna take anything away from me. But like, this is the only time where I not only blatantly noticed it, but like it was consistently taking me out. I think not only because of its prevalence, but also because of how actually prevalent it was. Like every other scene, there's like 2 or 3 switches, and it like hurts.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's part of that thing where you were saying, it's 75% of the movie is IMAX. That actually kind of hurt the movie because, like, normally, if you think you see, the aspect ratio switch, and you really only see it switch one way, like your brain only picks up on it when the black bars come in. They don't notice it when the black bars drop out. And so, in a normal film, where there's not a huge amount of IMAX, you see the black bars come in out of the corner of your eye, and you go, "What was that? Did I see something?" And you don't consciously register it. You'd go like, "Oh, that was weird. I feel like something's a little bit off." And then it slowly drops out and you don't notice it, and then maybe at some point later it comes back in. But this, since it's constantly popping in and out, it's really shot by shot is it flipping a coin. Is it going to be with black bars or not?
And frankly, we didn't notice it from like the first time it happened. We didn't notice it. We both had that feeling is like. Wait, wait. And then because it's so
you
frequent,
notice something, but you're willing to like just kind of push it off because you're like, I probably just missaw something. And then at some point during it, I turned to Oleg and I went, "Did you see that? Did you see something weird happen?"
Yeah, and I was like, "Fuck yeah, I think it's the aspect ratio." And we were like, "No," and then it's noticeable from then on. Yeah,
yeah.
It definitely took away
for
from
the rest of the night, we're just going, "What the fuck is going on? Stop it." Even Interstellar didn't have that issue. Yeah, Interstellar didn't do the aspect ratio switching.
No, it didn't. Maybe
Although
once
it did
again
have
they just
commercial cuts.
adjusted it for home release.
I thought it did.
Yeah, I was pretty sure.
I also saw that in IMAX.
We watched the version that's on the FX Now app. So we got
that is literally the TV version. We had to watch it with like it was funny because
wait, you watched Interstellar on FX?
That's in fairness, the last
FX
time
Now.
I watched
FX
Interstellar
Now,
was
the app.
also on FX, the actual cable station.
I thought I gave you guys the thing.
What thing?
That my parents bought Interstellar, so I have it on my.
Oh, I don't think. If you told me that, I must have forgotten.
Yeah, I told you because the Fire Stick is connected to it. But
yeah, well, either way, we already watched it.
Well, it's a good thing
all those
that
horrible ads. Fuck.
I was gonna say it's a good thing
honestly,
that 3 of us last watched it on FX with ads. Like we all have that.
No,
binding
the thing
experience.
is, the funny part is that we didn't watch Interstellar with ads. There were there were cuts from the movie to commercial, like the fade outs, and then it just cut back to the movie. That was ridiculous.
You need to rewatch the movie now, just normally.
Yeah, come on.
Yeah, exactly.
No.
I think we're good. I think we're good.
I'll put it this way: while watching the movie, I was counting down the time between ads, so that I would have the ad break to give myself a release from having to watch that fucking movie.
Jesus. That's horrible.
Interstellar is rough. I will say that.
That's how much I hate that fucking movie. I hate it
With all
so
due respect,
much.
I feel like we're wrapping up on Dunkirk.
Do we want to talk about anything aside from the aspect ratio?
Yeah, I talked about one thing. Yeah, we can.
About the
we're
lack
gonna
of a
cut that
story?
conversation down a lot because that was a very repetitive conversation.
I think the movie's just really boring, and like the aspect ratio has nothing to do with it. It's just like 2001. I think I think that it's a movie that exists for its effects and for how technically like advanced it is. However, the story doesn't like offer anything. The effects, even when they are used, they don't really contribute anything to the story. They just look pretty. And surprisingly enough, watching consistent like explosions, ships sinking, planes shooting should be fun. And it is for the first 20 minutes or so, but then it's so boring, and it's such a long movie. It really drags.
It's actually not that long.
it's not that long
It's
at
only
all.
106 minutes.
It might be the shortest movie in his filmography.
Aside from the
in that case, it
Like,
speaks volumes for
following.
how horribly it
fucking
drags.
marathon. Yeah.
I
Holy
disagree
hell.
with just about every word of that, but
I mean, we already know. I'm sorry. I'm just gonna finish my point because
No,
it
go
just
ahead,
like
go ahead. You were
came
talking.
into my head. But like we already know from last year's 1917 that a war movie that combines both a technical like achievement with an actual existing storyline can be a thing. So like why not? I guess.
Yeah.
I will
Well,
say
What's the point in not having a story? 'Cause we know he can write a good story.
I think we're going to disagree on like this next thing I'm about to say, but I think that Dunkirk does a better job at sort of like getting you in, like immersing you within.
We
like,
will.
You're about to disagree hard on this one, but yeah, I think that
Oh, yeah.
Dunkirk does a better job at immersing you into the event and into the like just what is happening more so than 1917, where basically the whole time like it's a good movie. I like 1917, but I was really disinterested just about the whole way through because it kind of just felt like a simulated video game the whole time.
Yeah,
We're
I mean,
gonna
what
disagree
what
on
about
that.
1917 feels like a video game that doesn't feel like a video game about Dunkirk?
I mean, Dunkirk has cuts and editing in that sense. So like you would go from one gloriously shot like sequence of a ship like, you know, sinking and that whole thing to then like the next scene of the guys like, you know, trying to keep quiet as they're being shot at to then you have the whole like plane
Shouldn't
fight.
the lack of cuts make it feel more experiential and more like real life?
It should, but I think like it's really well edited, so it sort of keeps the flow of the movie going in a way that doesn't
Well,
feel unnaturally.
Yeah, I think what the
will
I
okay,
think the thing about
sorry.
1917 really is not so much that is not really so much in the like one take itself. It's in the fact that like in order to keep a movie interesting when it's like one take, you kind of have to keep throwing in things that like probably would not happen. So like the plane coming in over the farm, like that probably wouldn't happen, and certainly would not happen in that exact way in such close proximity to everything else going on in their lives.
It felt like an Uncharted
Yeah.
cutscene.
And it's not, it just everything in and of itself felt kind of real enough, but because it was one take and most of war is just sitting around, and because everything was so close to each other, it didn't quite feel right. Whereas with Dunkirk, which is a well-known situation, which was a situation that had constant stuff going on, and because of the three timelines, you get the people on the boat who sit around for a while, so it gives you that aspect. You have the plane, which is really, really fast, and that like a really short amount of time, and that gives you that slight of adrenaline rush that you get rather than the slow moving of the people on the boat. And then you get the moving, and then you get the one day of the people driving, or not driving, I don't know what
Driving
boating.
on the water.
Yeah, driving on the water. Yeah, they grabbed their BMWs and went for it. That one day kind of emphasizes more of the like immediacy of everything. So you get all these different aspects of war that like 1917, because it's more of one straight thing, doesn't give you that all-encompassing view, and that's why Dunkirk to me doesn't feel like as much of a video game as 1917 does.
I have something to say to that. I do understand where you're coming from, but I fundamentally disagree about why 1917 feels different. I will admit that the order of events as they happened in 1917 is indeed very unlikely, whereas Dunkirk was an actual historical situation in the movie, relatively, with a considerable amount of historical creativity, of
We can
course.
talk about that.
No, I mean, I'm okay. My point is that I'm okay with it
1917
either
isn't
way.
accurate either. I don't think there's any war movie that's really.
Yeah,
Well,
I'm
no,
sorry,
and my
you're
point
on
is
that.
I'm okay with
Yeah.
both of those instances. Like,
An accurate war movie would
Dunkirk-
literally be people sitting around on Microsoft Office
yeah,
for 95%
yeah. So what I'm saying
of the
is
runtime and then
Dunkirk,
going to
Dunkirk
the wrong
is
place.
a more historical
Okay.
film, and that's acceptable.
Yeah.
And I am willing to suspend my disbelief for both of them. If you could suspect your disbelief for Dunkirk and couldn't for 1917, I think there's nothing wrong with that. Dunkirk is clearly more true to life for sure. However, I don't think that is what makes 1917 feel more engaging. I think it's the fact that we have a consistent point of view from the two characters, and then later, I guess, spoiler alert, the one character. who experiences all of this shit. Whereas in Dunkirk, we get multiple points of view, but none of them are really none of them are truly characterized except for the boy who escapes on the boat and like pretty much gets offed halfway through the movie, so there's that. And the Frenchie who pretends to be a Brit, but also like he's such a passive protagonist, like he doesn't actually do anything. He's just along for the ride.
Yeah. That's kind of one thing I actually kind of like about Dunkirk is there's not a protagonist. Like
there's no one to relate to.
There's no one to care about either. Yeah,
Because
exactly.
usually
I mean, it's
when
kind of
you
the same thing with
experience
2001, where there's not really a main protagonist throughout the entire movie.
No, not really.
Which is a movie I also really don't
That
like.
was
I know.
Oleg
Oleg
doesn't like,
like.
and I also really love. So,
But-
wow, there you go.
Because like one thing I really love about Dunkirk is again like it shows the event from these different perspectives. You have the dogfight, you have I forgot their names, but the Harry Styles guy like trying to get onto the ship.
Yeah.
Then you
I
got
didn't
the
think
asshole.
they had names. I will be
The
honest.
asshole,
When the credits
yeah.
rolled their names, I was like, "Oh, these characters had names. Interesting."
No, they probably just had like like one of those like bingo things, and they just like
Here's the-
rolled out a name. For
Here's
each
the thing, Einish. The thing is if that is a great way to tell us a story, but you can also do that while actually making a story.
I mean, I guess,
Or,
but that
you know,
wasn't
presenting-
the goal of the movie. The movie was to was to like show, represent, and create an experience of what Dunkirk was like in this viewpoint. And
Yeah,
The movie
and
does
you
that.
would get a lot more of that if you actually sympathized or cared about any of the characters.
I mean,
If you actually cared about what was happening, imagine how much more impact that movie would have. Just imagine how much that would feel if you saw the ship going down, or you just saw this kid get fucking brained, and you actually cared what happened to him.
I mean,
If
I
he
did
wasn't
care.
just
I did too.
if
It
he
was
wasn't
pretty-
just a faceless, nameless pawn. If you could remember his name, imagine how much more impact that would have.
I mean, that is kind of also a part of war where it's kind of like you don't really.
I
can-
mean, my
in
In war, you
secrets
can at
in
least
there.
care for yourself.
My
You know your
critique
own
is a
name.
little
Okay,
different.
that care
I
for
think-
yourself thing, I would like to latch onto that. I'll let Oleg go first though, if he wants.
Yeah, I will say my critique was not as much of you need to care about the characters, which you typically want to do, but that's not my point per se. My point is that no matter how good the effects are and how stunning and how close they put the camera to the explosions, etc., we are not going to be afraid of war on the other side of the screen because we are chilling at our home or in a theater eating like popcorn and other snacks, and like it's never going to be the same. But the way to make us experience something that's happening on the screen is to let the movie experience war through the eyes of a particular protagonist, which is something that 1917 absolutely 100% does, and Dunkirk doesn't really do.
Yeah.
do. Oh, sorry. Here, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. I will say, so here's one reason I think Dunkirk is overlooked and underappreciated is because Dunkirk makes you, by not really having a main protagonist to follow in any of these three cases, Dunkirk more or less kind of makes you the protagonist in all those three
that's
things.
not
And let
scary.
me,
No, I
yeah,
don't.
and let me explain. So it doesn't really the whole point is to kind of like put you there and to kind of give you a perspective of what's going on, but by neglecting a protagonist, it doesn't give you that ability to separate yourself. That like it's like a comfort that you normally have is like like I can feel what's going on, like a horror movie. You're like, I feel scared by this, but like like at least it's not me, it's them. Whereas in this kind of takes away that comfort net and it kind of puts you there in an extra degree that you wouldn't normally get. It's not traditional storytelling. Whether or not it's effective is entirely up to you, but it is new and it is different. And we know that Christopher Nolan can craft a protagonist. This wasn't him being lazy. This was him trying something different. Whether you think it works or not is up to you, but I think it's
Can I
worth
ask you
acknowledging.
one question? Sorry, Alex. Can I ask you one question?
Yes.
Andrew, sorry, Alex, for interrupting. And can I ask one question?
Okay, mate.
to Andrew?
I am here.
Fuck
Ask
you,
me
you
anything.
frog.
Do you think it's possible to, like, I was also thinking of a horror movie as you were saying that, and I was very much relieved that you used it as an example, the genre as an example.
Mm-hmm.
Can you imagine an effective horror movie where we are, so to speak, left alone with the monster without someone actually being in danger in the film?
No.
I don't.
Here's a good example.
But I think you can do that.
What about-
you can do
Yeah,
this with
I
gore
don't.
and do-
I think.
Have you-
I think you could possibly do it without having like one like the final girl. Like I think if you were
Well-
in a group of like 5 people without a defined like protagonist, I think that could work. I think it's
it doesn't have to
But
be
do you
a
think they
defined
have to have
protagonist,
character?
But they would have to be like characters that have
Yeah.
some sort of quirks that we care about.
What
Even,
if everybody wore a mask and nobody said anybody's name and you were unable to
that's
tell anyone from one
extreme
another?
examples. Extreme examples are not going to help everything.
Well,
but
no, but I mean, in Dunkirk,
Okay, I'm
it
gonna
might
use-
as
I'm-
well be that because
May I
they all look
please-
exactly the
may I
same.
please
Nobody.
use a slightly better example.
all of them look the same. The dumb British
until
French-
Dawn,
I mean,
which
yes.
which is a video game and
to
not
a
a
certain
movie,
extent, yeah.
is
bunch of-
absolutely shitty, stereotypical, not interesting as people characters. However, they all have simple quirks. We know what they want simply on the level of like what they're interested in at school and which girl/boy they're into in that horror setting. And it's all like relatability we need to know to just put ourselves in their minds ever so slightly to care for them, even though most of them are despicable,
I honestly
boring,
think it would have like
uninteresting
sorry.
cliches. Until Dawn is like a game that almost everybody loved, which has like only that minimal characteristics.
But I mean, that is also playing off the tropes of like the horror genre, and that's a different genre
Oh.
entirely than.
Okay.
Well, I'm saying it wouldn't work if we didn't have at least some sort of relatability for those characters.
I'll
Even
give-
given how minimal it was.
Yeah, I will say that like Dunkirk
damn it.
as a well. Sorry, Alex. I promise I'll let you go. 'cause
God
you-
damn it.
I apologize. Dunkirk as a historical event, kind of, and I'm not. I will say that like I don't think
Dunkirk
this
the
should-
movie or the battle?
Dunkirk the movie. I will say I don't think this is necessarily like this is something that I would also kind of take a little bit of issue with, but like because it's based on a well-known real event, and because you know that the people you're watching are like supposed to be real people that actually went through this, that kind of sympathy is more or less built in for you in a way that like horror, because it's wholly fantastical, just doesn't have. So like whether Dunkirk, you know, haphazardly capitalized on this or whether it planned to, like it does have that built in. It's a lot easier for war to do because you know war is real. There was one review of Dunkirk that I read that I actually like. Since I didn't see it out of theaters, but like it put into perspective like someone who I think was thinking ahead to home release in the same way that you guys are talking about it. And the review, like the short nugget of the review on Rotten Tomatoes was like, this seems like nothing more than a war movie that your grandpa will fall asleep while watching on the couch. And like, honestly, like
Oh my God.
everyone's laughing because
That
you know
fits.
exactly that like Dunkirk. Like Dunkirk, definitely.
it
I don't
is.
think it
That's
is, but
what-
like
that's what
it
it
is
is.
kind of. It is, you know, kind of when I was like 6 years old, my dad sat me down to watch like Midway and Tora 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 and The Longest Day. So I've been watching war movies that people fall asleep to on the couch since I was literally 6 years old.
We have one more topic I want to do, and that is comparing the use of time in Memento versus the use of time in Dunkirk.
Significantly better in Memento. I think we can all agree on
Yes.
Oh
that.
yeah.
In Dunkirk, it doesn't like there is no
It
point to it in
contributes
Dunkirk.
nothing. Yes.
Because the thing is, like, in Memento, there is a story purpose to it. In Dunkirk, even if you are the type of person who says,
It's like a
I
cool
like Dunkirk
gimmick, but
because
that's
of the
about it.
effects, and I don't think, like, I don't invalidate you. I think that's a legitimate position to have, to like Dunkirk because the effects are great, which they are. But there is no technical brilliance in just writing a story so that events don't go in order. It's pointless. There is no purpose for that in the film, unlike Memento. It does not change anything in the emotions you feel. It's just there to confuse you even more.
I like one part of it where it kind of shows like I agree it's used much better in Memento, and I don't think it's like necessary for Dunkirk. I do kind of like seeing how like these three events happen at like different times, sort of a thing where like I think the part of them like sailing out and like to on the like pleasure craft, that was like a day, right?
Yeah, that was the one day.
That was the one day. The plane was like a few hours, and then the other one was like 3 days or something like that.
I thought the other one was a week, but
Something like it's the longest one.
Yeah.
I kind of like I liked how they showed like the different struggles between all three sort of storylines and how like I don't know, like weaving them in this way kind of kept it interesting. It was kind of cool. I thought.
I didn't see a point to it. Like I see, I watched the boat scene, and I see a plane falling, and I'm like, yeah, I know it's the plane, but why do I need this? Like, why?
It kind of reminded me of there's a movie, Jim Jarmusch, Mystery Train. It kind of felt like that, where it's kind of like
haven't seen that one.
Really, I love that movie, but it kind of reminded me of like it's basically like three different little stories, and each of them happening over the course of like one night. However, like the way like the first one is like the longest one, so like they show like the process of one night over like an hour. Then the next one's like a bit shorter. Last one's like about the same length as the second one, and all three of them intersect at like certain spots exactly, which is kind of like what Dunkirk did, where like there's little points where they kind of intersected. And again, like, is it necessary? Not really.
Well, yeah, but why?
Yeah, again, no, it's not
I was
necessary.
gonna say
yeah. I mean,
it's.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Thanks.
Oh, okay.
So polite.
After
fuck.
you, Alex.
Yeah, we both said go ahead at the same time.
Einish, go.
It's just
All
polite.
right,
Einish, continue. No, go ahead, Alex.
Oh, okay. I was literally saying, Andrew, go ahead as you said that. Okay, I'll go then.
Fucking
Okay.
go.
Yeah. So, fuck. Now I've lost my point. Hold on.
go.
Give me a sec. Go. Yeah.
Okay, I'll go. So, like I said earlier,
Can we not cut that out?
yeah,
we're not
that was
cutting
great.
that.
Are you kidding me? That's probably the most engaging conversation we've had in the last hour and a half.
You go, go.
Yeah.
In the
It
last
shows-
5 episodes.
It shows just how white me and Andrew are. It's like the no. You go ahead.
it's
It's we're both
absolutely true,
stepping
yeah.
out of the way of the door for the other
Yeah.
person to come through.
Hey, can you tell we're from the Midwest? Yeah.
Yeah. No, you go ahead.
No, you. After you. No.
After you,
No,
yeah, after you.
No. You were the one first. Okay.
It's okay, I'll go.
Yep. Thanks. No. So like I was saying earlier about the fact that the boat sequence gives you a lot of time to really like sit and experience that like waiting dread of war, because it's a
really
longer
get a
time
wink or
span.
two.
When it's an hour, like the civilians on the boat, it gives you this sense of immediacy, but also the sense that like they can do it quickly, but not quickly enough to feel safe. And then with the hours in the plane, that shows like a super adrenaline rushed version of war. So having those three separate timelines does actually give you three different perspectives on what Dunkirk was like. Whereas if they're all told at the same time, it would kind of just be one massive adrenaline rush, and it wouldn't give you a full understanding of all the different aspects of war as were experienced by different people.
The thing is that like that would be true if they were really edited differently, but they're not really edited that differently. The only thing is that at the beginning they put a thing that said this takes place over an hour, and then you immediately forget that because you're watching a movie and you're not trying to keep in mind like, well, let me think, if this takes place over an hour, then this lines up with no. There's like still just a bunch of time where it's Tom Hardy just flying, and it's not really adrenaline rush. It's just like, yep, he's flying.
Yeah, I mean, they're told...
Yep, he's still flying.
They're not edited differently, but I think they are told a bit differently. Like, you never see Tom Hardy kind of just, like, floating around, like, oh, yeah, here we go. Like, he's always...
You do, though. You see a lot of that. You see a lot of him just kind of flying along, and then he, like, looks down and sees something, and he's like, that's interesting, and then keeps flying, and then it cuts away to something else that's more interesting.
Yeah, with his co-pilots, they definitely have that.
Yeah, they have that several times. So yeah,
It is
no,
much faster paced than like the bit of the soldiers just sitting on the beach or
like
the
soldiers
there's just
sitting on the
less of
beach
it.
is just like them sitting there, like that's it. Like they are sitting there, whereas like the civilians coming over on the boats, like they have some time where they're talking to each other, but they're like pretty forward focused. And in the plane, like they have like some moments where they're not like shooting, but like you get the sense that like they're only out there for a short amount of time, so they are constantly focused on what they're supposed to be doing.
Okay, so my take on this is that a movie can start bothering about the experience that the audience is going to have after it succeeds at being a film. And I'm not implying that Dunkirk is like a completely horrible like movie that can't give you any sort of experience. No, not at all. But it was so fucking boring that when it was over, I was looking forward to watching Interstellar because at least it was going to be offensively horrible.
I
There's
won't go that
no
far.
way that you're looking forward to watching Interstellar unless you
so
haven't
Yeah,
seen
no,
it
I
before.
was, because Interstellar is like it is bad in ways that are funny and very overt. Dunkirk was just a snooze fest. I didn't get any war experience out of it.
I loved it.
To me, okay. I remembered my point too, and this is that what makes Memento so fucking good is that everything in that movie is driven with intent, like the intent of the auteur, the intent of Christopher Nolan. So there's nothing he does in that movie that's just like, or almost nothing. I'm sure there's something or another. But there's almost nothing in that movie that's just like a random thing or just like, oh, yeah, that's funny. Didn't see that. No, everything is really closely monitored and controlled. And then you go to Dunkirk where it feels like he's just like, I don't know, what if there are different timelines or something? I don't know, what if we just cut between aspect rates? I don't know, what if we just don't have a narrative? And it just feels sloppy and clumsy and like it.
I don't know if
the
you can
experimental
call Dunkirk
nature
sloppy. It's
the experiment from a writing
The experience
perspective
is most certainly choppy.
from
I'm
a
not
writing
talking about the technical part, but the experience is choppy
Yeah.
as fuck.
Technically, it's Christopher Nolan. Of course, it's fucking great. But you know, I'm a writer. I look at writing. That is what I care about: is story and writing. And from writing, that movie is one of the sloppiest. It's even sloppier than Interstellar. From
really
just pure
disagree with
writing.
that.
Oof.
From pure writing, it's sloppier.
I mean, like, there's less dialogue, but I do think that it's a very well structured story.
I mean, unlike Interstellar, there really is no room in Dunkirk for any sort of writing, really.
Yeah. There's no
'Cause it
character
just-
development. There's no
there
story
are no
whatsoever.
characters to develop.
There's no characters.
Well, yeah, no, there are characters. They don't
There's, like,
develop.
one
the
that's
actual
interesting-ish.
historical event happened the way it happened, so they didn't write that. It's very effects driven, where
Well, you can
shit is
tell
just supposed to happen, and you're supposed to be wowed by the fact that
you can
shit
tell
happens.
an interesting character driven story inside of an actual event.
I mean,
Well,
no,
like,
I
this
believe
wasn't
that.
the intention.
Yeah,
and-
trust me.
And I do think that it would have made the movie worse. I do think that
What?
slowing. I do think
Are
slowing.
you insane?
I do think slowing down Dunkirk.
I
think
okay, I'll grab the popcorn.
Yeah.
No, this is gonna be. Yeah.
You think that adding a good story would make the movie worse?
I think adding a bunch of
What what batshit position is that, Einish?
No, I think.
Okay.
Alex, wait,
Calm down, Alex.
I think adding.
No, actually, don't calm down. This is extremely entertaining.
What the fuck?
No, okay.
Have you lost your nutter?
My what?
What in the
You're-
God's green earth did you
you
just
off-
say?
You cut out. You said,
I-
"Have you lost your nagu?" And I'm like, "Huh?"
I think
I
he
said,
said nutter.
Yeah,
I'm
have you
going
lost
to,
your
I'm not going
nutter?
to explain what nutter is because I don't
Yeah.
know.
No,
It's
we're
British
not
for
explaining what nutter is. Ines, continue your point.
Okay, so yeah,
I'm resuming my role as voice of reason in this group.
So, I think for Dunkirk, adding a bunch of character development to the characters that really don't need development because the movie's not focused on them, it's focused on the event, would slow down the movie and make it much worse.
It would have a
I
negative
think-
effect on the pacing.
Yeah.
The pacing would be
Here-
slowed down. You would have unnecessary scenes where they're just like talking. It's like, hey man, the war. Yeah, I got a wife back home. Yeah,
Can
whatever.
I,
just like just
Here-
stuff that you
Before
don't
Alex,
need
before
to
Alex
experience.
goes on a rant,
Because here you are coming to see the event of Dunkirk and experience it through three different perspectives and a bunch of unnecessary like dialogue between these characters who they aren't interesting. Like, you don't need these characters to be interesting because you're here for something else. Is kind of like, I guess it's not the way I explained it wasn't that clean, but that's kind of like my stance on
Yeah,
it.
I see where
actually-
you're coming from.
I get what you mean, and before I totally understand where Alex can go with his response. I just want to say that, like, I absolutely agree that in the movie as it was, adding character development would decrease the quality of the pacing. but the pacing was already like pretty bad. So like I feel like there just needs to be like if we want to make it a perfect experience, there would probably need to be a rehaul anyway of some sort.
I think it also might just be like, I guess we're looking for different things in the movie. We're like,
Yeah,
from
I mean,
what I've understood, I guess is like you, Oleg and Alex. I think you two sort of prefer movies where it is like, you know, you have a character that you follow and there's like, you know, a narrative and development and like that sort of thing. But I guess I personally I like that for the movies that set out to do that. But this movie has a completely different goal in mind, and for what it sets out to do, I think it accomplishes it.
I can get behind non-conventional shit. Like there's Place Beyond the Pines, I think it's called.
Yeah.
The one with Ryan Gosling and shit. Yeah. Where it's, you know, transitioning characters and stuff. Like I can get behind these non-conventional narratives a lot. The issue is that there's just not a narrative, and so the only thing to look at is just, oh wow, he's really good at shooting stuff, or like he's really good at shooting the scene. I'm talking about Christopher Nolan.
Yeah.
So I mean,
there is a goal in mind for each of the storylines.
Yeah,
kind
of. Yeah.
What was it though, really?
Yeah, actually, that's a good point. What was Tom Hardy's goal in the movie?
Wasn't his to like just shoot down the people?
Yeah, his goal.
No,
yeah,
I mean the artistic goal behind because like if they're supposed to give you different experiences, what is the purpose behind?
I mean, everyone's goals was to. Everyone's goals was
everyone's
either
goals
to follow
was to
orders
evacuate the British army from Dunkirk. Yes, that much we know from history.
There's a clear.
Exactly.
I want to get the fuck out. But there,
like
you don't see any motivation
or
anything.
Okay,
I mean,
Alex,
you see the motivation of.
Hold up for a second. In this film, like you said, that every one of those three perspectives needs to be there because they all craft the ultimate like war experience that this film is going for. What difference creatively do those three branches bring to Dunkirk?
I mean, different perspectives of the war. There was the side of the civilians, the side of, you know, the soldiers on the beaches, and then the dogfight.
But they're pretty much they're occasional like a lot of build up with a lot of talking and a lot of slow shots, and then effects. And that's pretty much how all of them go, except for maybe the boat.
I think there's
the boat doesn't have the effects part.
There's a difference between all three of them. Like for the citizens one, they're also like, you know, like you don't have to do this. It's like, no, we do this for the country or whatever, and they're like out there saving the soldiers and all that. So you see from like the perspective of a civilian why they're out there doing
Okay, but
this.
that's not creatively. That's more narratively.
Yeah, well, because you have.
Oh, sorry.
Tom Hardy is following orders, doing his job. Like he in plane, he is at risk in the standard definition of war. He is not at risk of just being picked off like fish in a barrel, like everyone on the beaches are. Their objective is literally just survival. Get out, survive. That's all they have. Tom Hardy in the plane, he's trying to help save them, but also he's more or less just doing his job. And the civilians are people who are going beyond what they would normally have to do because they have this stronger sense of duty.
But all of what you just said is just coming from your knowledge of history, really. It's not something that they convey to you in the movie.
Well, not through dialogue, but through their actions, yes.
Debatable.
I was going to say, also,
don't know
are you arguing...
about.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Are you arguing that the movie has a plot and has character set up? Because that's what you're saying. It's like, well, I didn't say the motivation of this character is this, the motivation of this... Well, okay. That is an aspect of character, right?
An aspect.
So it is an aspect of character. So generally, those are the things that motivate stories and make you interested in watching it. Because otherwise, you know, so I understand why film students would love this movie because technically it's very,
it really is,
stunning.
It really is.
I can't deny that at all. However, I can't understand how you would expect anyone in, just a casual film goer or even, a film goer who just doesn't study cameras and shit. Like anybody who doesn't have a super technical background. I can't imagine how you would expect them to go in and be like, this movie's great. No. They would all be sitting there going like, yeah, it looks good. It sounds good. And actually, I've heard from sound mixing people that it actually doesn't sound mix very well.
No,
that just
it
does everything
definitely
super loud.
does. People who do sound mixing get upset with the mix because it's intentionally loud, which is bullshit because it's war. So of course it's fucking
Yeah,
loud.
I mean, I liked
I
it
think
when
it
I
is
watched it.
very
I've
well
just
sound
had
mixed.
some sound friends tell me that they dislike it. Dislike the sound in it. But I understand why people on like heavily involved in technical sides would be like, "Oh, this movie is great. Look at all the technical shit he pulls off." But you know, if you have a movie that's has no plot and it's just like, wow, look at how great the CGI. It's Avatar. It's
No,
Avatar.
Avatar
It's
tries.
No, Avatar has a Avatar actively
well,
tries
okay,
to
but
have
I'm
a
saying
plot
the
and
plot, the
character.
plot in
and
writing to
characters, and they're
Avatar
both
is
bad.
absolute dog shit.
Okay, I don't think it's that bad. It is
It's dog shit.
I mean,
it's
just
literally
Pocahontas.
they named the rock that they're going for unobtainium.
No, I'm not saying it's well written. I
You
just
can't
don't think
say it's not dog shit.
the movie's not a dog shit movie. I think it's like it's a hot 3 out of 5 kind of thing, where like the effects are great, the direction's great, sound is
Yeah,
great.
I think that's the best I would ever give it.
Yeah,
James
that's
Cameron
exactly
knows
that's the
how to
best you
direct
could
a
give it.
good movie.
He does. He's not the
But
best. writer
what
in
I'm
the
saying
world,
is
That no.
like that's a movie where it's like stunning for its visual effects. It's like, oh my god, they pulled off this amazing CGI. But I still don't want to watch the fucking movie ever again because the story is dog shit and the writing is dog shit and I don't understand how anybody can enjoy it.
Okay, and I will say, in fairness, we did start off by saying you had your statement saying that what you most look for in movies is writing. I had my statement saying that what I most look for in movies is the technical aspects. And so it does depend. That's the thing about cinema and mostly all art. I love the review. It's just that people go into movies looking for different things. That's why different genres exist. That's why some movies are fast, some movies are slow, some movies are focused a lot on characters, like romances and rom-coms. Some movies are more focused on the story, like mystery and noir. It all kind of just depends. But for what I'm personally looking for in a movie, Dunkirk really fulfills it. It doesn't have the plot and the characters to back it up like a lot of other movies do. But what it does have is the ability to try something new and technically pull it off really, really well. And whether it succeeds is kind of up to yourself,
I suppose I can agree to that. I don't know, Oleg, how about you?
Well, I mean, I agree with that much. I don't think it's that much of an achievement to be able to try something new.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I feel like anybody
I will
who
say, yeah, it's
has a
not much of an
working brain-
achievement to try something new, and it seems like it wouldn't be that much of an achievement to try something new and make it work. But like, take a look back at the movies you saw like last year, the year before,
the
the year
make it
before
work
that.
part is the part we should focus on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But frankly, I feel like that's the part that we just disagree on.
Well, I mean,
Because
what it's
Alex
trying
and
to
I
do.
feel like are like fundamentally under the impression that it didn't pull it off, and you guys are.
Well, I
and
think
that's where the disagreement is coming from.
I think it pulled off what it was trying to do, which is be a completely technical masterpiece, but completely disregard writing. It pulled that off in spades, or in disregard casual moviegoer experience. It pulled it off in spades. I'll give it that. It pulled off the technical.
Most people casually still like this movie, including us when we saw it in the theater. Like,
Yeah,
I didn't
I was
love
gonna
it.
say,
I didn't love
in
it. I thought it was
theaters-
okay.
I don't think
I
I've
would
never
never
seen
still.
a person who hates this movie. Like they were just
Like,
like,
the thing is-
You have now.
Wait,
Well,
you?
I mean, I'm not gonna go as far as to say I hate it.
I
but,
hate
like,
I hate the home
definitely-
theater experience of it. at
I
least.
definitely dislike it. After watching it in the theater, I think I was like, it's an okay film. I don't regret seeing it, but I won't ever seek to like watch it again. But I did it for the podcast. And now I definitely dislike. I don't hate it.
Yeah.
I dislike it.
I almost had to tap out of watching it, honestly. Like, yeah, and I mean, it was not as bad as Interstellar, to which I had to drink copious amounts of alcohol to be able to withstand it. And for everybody who's wondering, yes, I am of age, so I am legally allowed to drink.
Alex is
So-
18.
Yeah, exactly. I'm single, ladies. I'm 16 and ready to mingle. No,
Okay, that would be really funny though.
Yeah, I am of age.
I am of age.
yeah. But that that movie, I think you'd have to pay me to watch Interstellar again. Like, it's not quite that bad with Dunkirk, but it does take up a special form of torture in my mind.
I want that on the Blu-ray.
Is that our new T-shirt? Dunkirk is torture.
I will not wear that.
No.
Or, wait, how about this? Beyond the silver screen, a special form of torture.
That I will wear.
I am down for that one.
That I can get behind.
A lot of people can't, and I don't blame them.
A special form of torture.
Okay, I think that just
It is a
about
very
wraps
special-
everything up, unless anyone has...
Also, I do want to say too, the movie you were describing earlier, where it's like war is mostly about sitting around and not doing stuff. That would be the movie Jarhead with Jake
I
Gyllenhaal.
knew you were going to say that.
Yep. I tried to say it earlier, and I mixed up the name, and I think I said Jughead.
Yeah, from
Which is
Riverdale.
a completely different...
Yeah. Far better, actually.
Yeah.
No,
And
if
by
you
the
want
way, I'm
good
not
writing-
talking about that fucking Riverdale. I'm talking about actual Jughead. Archie and Jughead, baby.
No, dude, Jughead's the Riverdale's the better Archie comics.
Ugh.
Archie comics aren't even the better Archie comics.
Yeah,
A garbage can
yeah,
is the better Archie. No, Bazooka Bubblegum is
Jarhead
the
is
best
the
version of
perfect-
Archie comics because it's just the sugar and no
Okay,
characters.
can I
That's
cut
fair.
this short and ask, do we actually need to talk about anything else, or do you want to wrap it so that I can leave?
I
Oh,
think
can
we
I-
can wrap
Yeah, I
it.
have to use the bathroom, so...
Wrap it and tap it, boys. Wrap
Okay,
it
I
and
mean,
tap
are we gonna have an outro or?
someone should say
I
something
guess
about
join
joining
us-
us next week.
Yeah, join us
Yeah,
next week where we'll start talking about, Interstellar and what's the other one?
Inception.
Oh yeah, Inception.
Inception, good movie,
Ugh.
good fucking movie.
We're
Great
going
fucking
in
movie.
next week.
Yeah, stay tuned. We are excited for Tenet. We hope you are excited for Tenet because you are supposed to bring us views. Please do that better than you have been doing it so far. You have not been successful.
Yeah, watch the
I will
video
say now-
a couple times, 20 times.
I will say now,
Share with
next
friends.
next week should be interesting because I went in not liking Inception and came out actually really loving it.
Really?
So
It's a good fucking movie.
No, it's fantastic.
yeah, it's a good movie. Yeah. I'm excited to talk about it and to shit on Interstellar for a long time.
I think
Well, it's
we're all
not going to be
line up
as
on-
exciting as Dunkirk because it's going to be not as divided. It's going to be
Yeah.
more unanimous.